Welcome to Good Sex at NYU, a podcast about sex, relationships, health, and mental health in a sex-positive space. So if you're looking for sometimes serious, sometimes funny, and always sex-positive discussions, then you're in the right place. I'm Danielle Elliman, Associate Director of Sexual and Relationship Respect Services at Counseling and Wellness Services. I use she, her pronouns.
And I am April Fellers, a nurse and sexual health educator at the Student Health Center. I also use she, her pronouns. We are two white, cisgender, heterosexual, female-identifying clinicians, one with a medical background and the other with mental health experience, who seek to create a space that is inclusive of all identities, backgrounds, and perspectives.
Today on Good Sex, I am joined by our NYU Student Health Center Sexpert, Alyssa LaFosse. Alyssa was on the podcast our first season, so welcome back. She discussed in our first season HIV, PrEP, and PEP, so tune in to episode 29 for more information on that topic. Alyssa is back today to share her expertise on how to properly use an internal and external condom. We have discussed condoms in various different episodes on the podcast so far, including season 1. We had an episode 6 on communication, which is key when talking about condoms. Also, episode 8, we talked about STIs, and in episode 22, season 1, we talked about birth control. So definitely tune into those for more information on those topics, because today we're going to make sure our audience really knows how to effectively use condoms. So I have to confess, Alyssa, that I rarely put on an external condom. I usually make my partner do that. But then the first time I ever attempted to put on an internal condom, it did not go well. I even practiced a little before and it still did not go well. So we just kind of chucked it and used the external condom. So I'm really looking forward to this so I can get some more information for myself. But can you walk us through how to put on a condom?
Absolutely. Thanks, Danielle, for having me. This is fun as always. All right, so we'll just get right to it. I have a external condom and an internal condom to demonstrate. So we'll start with the external one. It's a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah, more people know about it. But I think sometimes I had someone ask me recently. They were like, "Well, there's semen that's dripping down. What am I doing wrong?" I think there are still people who are not necessarily sure.
Yes.
Even though it's maybe the one that's more commonly used.
Exactly. And it's a very common question that I get from students is, how do I use this? How do I put this on? Which is why I have these handy demonstrators, and I'll show a student and then I'll have them practice. So practicing at home on your own body, or even like on a banana or a cucumber, is totally something that, that someone can do and, can help. So just to quickly talk about effectiveness, it's another very common question. How effective are these? So when people look at, like, if you have ever Googled like condom effectiveness, you might see two numbers. You might see something that's in the 90s and something that's lower. So when a condom is used perfectly, meaning nothing went wrong, it wasn't expired, it didn't break, it didn't come off, etc., they are the external ones, also known as male condoms or just condoms. They are 98% effective at preventing pregnancy and some STIs. However, life is not always perfect and things happen. And so what's called like typical or real life usage, then condoms are 87% effective.
Okay, that's still pretty good.
It's still not bad. Yeah. For the internal condom, the perfect use is it's 95% effective, and then but typical real life usage is 79%, which is still
still good, a little lower than the external, which I'm surprised at. But.
Yeah. Okay. So those are just to throw out some quick stats. So and then going back quickly to the external condoms. They are more effective at preventing against STIs that are transmitted from fluids, such as semen, vaginal fluids, or blood. They provide more of an effective barrier between fluids. And so we can say that, again, with perfect usage, condoms are 98% effective at preventing against those STIs, which would include chlamydia, gonorrhea, and HIV.
Okay.
They are less effective at preventing against the STIs that are transmitted from skin-to-skin contact, such as herpes or HPV, because a condom, as we'll see, will only cover, most of the penis, but it won't cover the testicles or any of the other genital skin, and any of the genital skin can transmit, an STI for those skin-to-skin contact STIs. So that's why the effectiveness does go down a little bit for those.
And that makes sense why those numbers are a little bit higher on the skin-to-skin ratio of folks contracting those.
Exactly.
Versus some of the other ones that are fluid based.
Exactly. It's why HPV is the most common STI, skin to skin transmitted, and herpes type 1 and type 2 also is up there. So, yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the demonstration of how to put on an external condom. So the first thing that you want to do is check the expiration date. Every condom has an expiration date listed on the back. And most condoms expire 3 to 4 years after purchase. So they're going to last a long time. Okay. This one expires in 6 months. So we're good.
Yay.
Alrighty. So once you've checked the expiration date, then you want to open it. So you don't want to get fancy or funny. You don't want to use your teeth. You don't want to do something like that, because you could accidentally tear the condom.
And if that's your last one, then
yes, especially so. So what you want to do is you want to kind of push the condom to the edge of to one side, and then open it carefully on the other. So that way, again, you don't accidentally rip it.
Yeah, and you might be excited. You might be really hot and heavy, but take a breath. You're going to be able to, get to the next step. You're almost there.
Exactly. And it doesn't take long. They open pretty easily.
Yeah.
And so then you want to figure out, then you want to check the condition. So even if your condom hasn't expired, if it's been, let's say, left, if you had them stored next to your radiator or in your car, it still could be damaged. So you just want to make sure that it doesn't look funny or is brittle or dry or has a weird smell.
Yeah.
If it does, you definitely want to throw it out and get another one. That hopefully wasn't stored in the same place.
Yeah.
So definitely just check the condition just to be sure, even if the expiration date has not passed. And so then once you do that, then you want to figure out which way to unroll it. And so what you want to do is you want to actually also first pinch the tip. It's called the reservoir tip. This is where semen, collects. So you want to pinch the tip of this reservoir tip before putting it on. And the reason is because if I don't squeeze it, and I start to place it, you'll see it looks like a tiny little balloon.
Yeah, there's air in there.
Exactly. There's air in there. And so during sex, if there's air in this tip, it's going to make the condom more likely to break.
Okay, wow.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
They put it on and they, start having sex, and the condom may break with or without their knowledge. You may not always know if a condom breaks.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really, really important to squeeze this tip, and then you start to unroll the condom down. So sometimes people are not sure which way to unroll the condom. So you always want to, you'll be able to tell it will start to unroll really easily. It's already starting to come down. If it was the wrong way, which would be this way, and if I tried to unroll it, it's not coming down,
right?
Because it's inside out. So it's pretty easy to tell, and with more practice and experience, people will, it will become pretty easy for someone to tell which way is the correct way to unroll. So you start to unroll, and you want to make sure that you unroll all the way as far as you can, all the way to the base. If you don't do that, if you just kind of if you're in a hurry and just kind of slap it on and leave it like this, kind of half on, half unrolled, it's going to make the condom more likely to slip off during sex.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good to think about that.
Yep. So again, another reason why you should just take another breath. I get that, you're excited. I want to get to it, but make sure that, this is unrolled all the way.
It's nice to have pleasure extended, so just take that breath.
Yes, exactly. Delayed gratification.
Yes.
And so then once it's on, then you're ready to have fun.
Continue with anal or vaginal penetration.
Yes, exactly. Whatever it is that you're, into.
Yep.
And then when you're done, and now this has been placed on a penis, and so if ejaculation occurred, there would be semen in here, right? Mm-hmm. So someone just asked me this question the other day. They were saying that when they pull out of their partner, sometimes the condom stays inside their partner's vagina. What should they do? How do they avoid that? So what you want to do is, let me just pull this from the table. You want to basically you want to hold the base of the penis with the condom, kind of underneath your fingers, and then just pull everything out together. That way the condom comes out along at the same time as the penis,
right? And
it's not, staying behind. You also want to make sure that you remove the penis from the vagina or the anus while the penis is still erect or mostly erect, because if you wait and the penis starts to, get softer, that can also make it more likely for the condom to start to slip off or for semen to start to spill out of it. And you also obviously want to avoid that, because that's why you went through all the trouble to put this on in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
So shortly after, ejaculation, enjoy those, feel good in a few seconds afterwards, but then place your, fingers around the base with the condom, take everything out together. And then, just move away from your partner again, so that while you're taking it off, semen doesn't accidentally spill all over them, unless that's what they want, which is fine.
That's great.
As long as it's not going inside the body, then there's no risk for anything. And then you want to just, unroll it carefully. And the best way to get rid of a condom or to dispose of a condom is in the trash. You could wrap it in a Kleenex or toilet paper, and then in the trash. Condoms are not flushable, so do not flush them down your toilet, because then that may require a call to the plumber.
Oh, we don't want that.
Nobody wants that. So just wrap it up in some Kleenex, toilet paper, in the trash, and all done.
All right, a good condom success story.
Yes. So that was, again, perfect use.
Yeah.
Nothing went wrong in that scenario. So again, practice beforehand is definitely recommended.
Yeah.
If this is a new skill for you.
Yeah. And I know that one of the things is probably also in your frequently asked questions, but also finding the right size.
Yes, definitely. So there's a lot of different types of external condoms. They come in different sizes, extra large, a snugger fit. They come in different textures, like ribbed or studded. They come in different colors or flavors. So there's a really, really wide variety with these. So sometimes students ask me well, which one should I use? And that's, up to your own personal preference. I tell students, just try a whole bunch of different kinds and see, which one you like best. Some people swear that they have, a favorite kind. This is by far their favorite, some whatever kind, like a ribbed or whatever. And for other people, every condom feels the same. Even if it's extra sensitive or extra lubricated or whatever, they don't notice a difference. So it's really kind of just a very personal thing.
Yeah. I'm still trying to find the one that feels like you'll use it.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's the point. Is you want to find one that is compatible with you and your taste. So.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the internal condom. So with the internal condom, which was previously known as the female condom, but it's not referred by that anymore, because people of any gender can use this, and it can be placed inside a vagina or an anus. So it's not limited to the female gender or anything like that. So that term is kind of outdated.
Yeah.
So it's just called the internal condom. For the internal condom, there is only one kind. It's literally this one.
They have a monopoly on the market.
Yeah. This is the only, it's called FC2.
Okay.
And it's the only internal condom that is FDA approved.
Okay.
So why is there not more variety for these? I don't know. Maybe because they're just not as common or as popular as the external ones. But in any case, it's just this. So similarly, before you open it, just like with the external condom, you want to check the expiration date, which is usually printed inside the package like on the sleeve on the side here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this one expires in June of 2025, so we're good. And again, open it carefully, no teeth.
Right.
Careful with long nails.
Long nails.
So yeah, just push it to the side and open it carefully. And so here we go. So you'll notice that it is a little bigger than the external condom. It has one end that is closed that contains a flexible ring, and the other end is an open end. So this can be used again for vaginal or for anal sex. So for vaginal sex, you want to leave the ring in. For anal sex, you want to take it out.
Okay.
All right. So for vaginal sex, this soft ring that's on the inside, it's very flexible. So what you want to do is you want to squeeze it and basically insert it inside of you. You want to just push it literally as far as you're able to, and that's it. For anal insertion, you want to remove the ring. And then similarly, you put your finger inside and you'll insert it into your butt, basically, again, as far as you're able to do it. And then, and that's that. You want to definitely make sure, though, that this outside ring remains on the outside of the body.
Yeah.
You don't want this part to get pushed in. This condom is made of nitrile, which is a plastic material.
Okay.
It's hypoallergenic, so it does not cause allergies or sensitivities.
That's good.
And it is covered with a silicone-based lube on the outside and on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool because, I'll talk about my little pleasure tip in just a second.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, but it's great that it's got lubricant on the outside and the inside. So for vaginal sex, again, you squeeze the ring, you insert it, and so then if a penis or a toy is going inside, you want to make sure that it really does indeed go inside and that well, I guess I can use this as an example. You want to make sure that it goes inside and that it doesn't accidentally
push
the opening to the side or accidentally just shove the entire thing in. And the same is true for anal sex. You want to make sure again that it's, going inside and not accidentally going around it or shoving the whole thing in. And similarly, with the external condom, once ejaculation has occurred, you want to, extract everything all together, and again, wrap it in a tissue and throw it in the trash.
Okay.
Planned Parenthood has a really good video on how to insert these.
Okay.
For folks who just want to see another demonstration. If you just Google Planned Parenthood internal condom.
Okay. Maybe we can put a link on our show notes.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's see. There are some pretty cool advantages to the internal condom over the external condom. One of them being that this can actually be inserted in the vagina or in the anus up to 8 hours before sexual activity. Now, I'm not saying you probably want it in your body for 8 hours beforehand, but it can be placed, before you leave or before someone comes over. And so that way, when things start to get hot and heavy, no interruption has to, exactly.
No, pause.
No pause. No, let me get that. Not that that's such a big deal, but for folks who really,
but we've heard that,
really
that
don't want
sometimes that's a deterrent for people. It's it takes me out of the mood or whatever. This sort of keeps the mood going.
Yep, exactly. So there's no excuse with this. Yes. If your partner's already wearing one, then there's no need to stop for anything.
Yeah.
And it also gives the wearer more control. They don't have to ask their partner, can you put one on? Or, if they'd rather not discuss it for whatever reason, they can take the control and power into their own hands and into their own body and be prepared.
Yeah.
Which for some people is very attractive. And also, as we can see, as I pointed out before, that it's larger, it's wider than an external condom. Some folks with penises actually prefer these condoms because they feel less restrictive, less tight than the traditional.
I was curious.
External condom. Yeah. So those are some advantages to using the internal condoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any disadvantages?
The only other thing I would recommend is that we already touched on before is to practice. Definitely practice this one, because this one, is the insertion is, it's like if for folks who've like ever tried using a tampon for the first time or putting anything into that part of your body, whether it's the vagina or the anus, can sometimes it can be like a new, different sensation and new experience. So practicing beforehand is really, really key, especially for this one. So that's what I would recommend.
I agree. Like I practiced a bit just to put it in. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of like a tampon, but also I was thinking like old school diaphragm, Or if you've ever done one of those period cups as well, like some of those things that I was thinking it was kind of like reminded me of doing.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So it just takes like a little getting used to, but obviously, it's not rocket science. It's just like you probably just need a few tries to, experiment with it, practice with it, and then you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly.
It's similar to the external, like you want to practice a little bit before. So when it goes to, time where you want to actually implement, when, it's getting kind of exciting, you're not like, pause, let me like figure this out. I've never tried this before. So better to like be a little prepared.
Exactly. A little preparedness will go a long way.
So as the NYU Sexpert, what are some common questions that you get when it comes to condoms?
Yeah, a lot. It's definitely like one of the most, common like just topic areas is condoms, and what kind should I use and how do you use them and what are the different types all about and that kind of thing. So let me talk a little bit more about the types of external condoms. Okay. So there's basically three main types. There's latex, non-latex, and lambskin or natural skin. So latex is by far the most common. Okay. It has the most variety. This is what you normally see, like when you like in your drugstore or bodega. And again, they're 98% effective when used correctly or perfectly. So there's a lot of variety with latex condoms. So fantastic. Some latex condoms come with spermicide, which is also can be known as nonoxynol 9. Okay. However, it's been shown that condoms with spermicide are actually not any more effective than condoms without spermicide. Okay. The spermicide basically is like an extra substance that is supposed to like weaken sperm. To make it like less likely that, the sperm can, if it escapes the condom, will make it to an egg. But yeah, research has shown that they're actually not any more effective at doing that. And furthermore, that spermicide can actually act as an irritant to the vagina or to the anus, which can then make someone more susceptible to contracting an infection. Okay. Or like an STI or a UTI, a urinary tract infection. So we don't recommend using condoms with spermicide. Okay. So let's see.
But sometimes people are allergic to latex.
Yes, exactly. So for folks who are allergic to latex, there are non-latex condoms that are usually made of polyisoprene, polyurethane, or nitrile, which are all like synthetic materials. Okay. And those are also just as effective as latex condoms at preventing against pregnancy and STIs and HIV. The cool thing about those condoms is that not only can they be used by folks who have like an allergy or sensitivity to latex, but some people, like some penis havers, actually find them to be more comfortable than latex condoms. They find them to be like a little stretchier, or sometimes they feel like they can get warmer with body heat than latex can. So basically anyone can use a non-latex condom. It's not just for people who have like an allergy.
Okay. And they're just as effective. So that helps to like sort of dispel any kind of myth as to why you might, prefer one or the other. It's like they're both good. You have to decide what's best for you.
Exactly. Okay. So, that's another one of the things I recommend for folks who aren't sure, like who are just starting to, be sexually active and aren't sure what kind of condom is their favorite. You can try those too. Yeah. And then we have lambskin or natural skin condoms, which are condoms that are made from the membrane of sheep intestine. So some folks really love how that feels because it's got more of like a natural, less, synthetic-y kind of sensation. However, lambskin condoms are only effective at preventing pregnancy. They are not effective at preventing against STIs or HIV. And that's because bacteria and viruses are a lot smaller than sperm. So the lambskin condom will block sperm from going through, but bacteria or viruses can get through. So
I would not use one of those.
You definitely don't want to use those if you're having sex with someone whose STI status you don't know, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those are like the three main types of external condoms. Again, the internal condom there's only that one kind, the nitrile, which is again just as effective as latex in preventing against the other stuff. So let's see.
So would you say that since condoms already come with lubrication, do you see students asking about various different kinds of lube? Do you often recommend that in conjunction with condom use?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's another very common one, is about what lubes can I use with this kind of condom or that kind of condom. So all right, so let's talk a little bit about lubricants. So there's three main kinds of lubricants. There's water-based lubricant, there's silicone-based lubricant, and there's oil-based lubricant. Okay. So water-based and silicone-based lubricant can be used with latex condoms and with the non-latex condoms, whether it be that the polyisoprene, the synthetic plastic material, or the lambskin. Even if a condom is already pre-lubricated, which most condoms are, I always recommend to folks to just have some lube nearby anyway, because eventually even if someone produces their own natural lubrication, and even if a condom also is lubricated, if a sexual encounter is going on for a while, eventually lubrication will disappear. It's not going to stay lubed and juicy for hours and hours. Yeah. So that's why I recommend for someone to just have a bottle or a packet
table
of lube. Yes, just right there. Within arm's reach, so you don't have to get up and hunt for it, have it ready, with all your other supplies. So the pros and cons, I'm going to start with water-based and silicone-based. So the pros and cons with water-based is that it tends to be a little bit more economical. They're easier to find. They're easier to clean up. You just, if lube gets on your clothes or your sheets, it's pretty easy to just clean up with water. The only slight downside to water-based lube is that it tends to dry out a little bit more quickly, which means you just have to reapply it more often. So not a big deal, but just something just to be aware of.
You're just going through it more.
You're just going through it more. Exactly. Silicone-based lube will last longer, so you don't have to reapply it as often. However, it is harder to clean up, so it might stain clothes or sheets or what have you. So something to be aware of. So a lot of times students will ask, well, which one should I use? And again, the answer is try both and see which one you prefer. It's really just what it comes down to.
And oil-based,
So if you ever go to your CVS or Walgreens and you go to the sex section, basically. The lubes that they sell there are only going to ever be water-based or silicone-based. If you do a search on Amazon, if you search for lube for sex or personal lubricant, again, it's only going to show you water-based or silicone-based lube. Oil-based lubes are typically household products, and they're not meant for personal use. They're not meant to actually go inside your body. They're not meant for sex. So how do you know what's an oil-based lube? Is basically anything that has oil in it, or anything that was designed for something else, for another part of your body, like Vaseline, Aquaphor, or baby oil, massage oil, cooking oil.
I went to olive oil. That's the first thing I thought. People are using olive oil?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely slippery. agree.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But you don't want to use anything with oil, any lube with oil on either an external or an internal condom because the oil will break down the condom.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking of, like, should lube and or condoms be like stored in a certain place? Like, I always think of like, side table for my lube and a condom in my bag / wallet. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, like, you see like these old movies where like the condoms get all like worn and again, you should check the expiration, all of that. But like, is there proper storage that we need to think about?
Yes, that's a great question. So condoms should be stored in like a cool, dry area. Okay, you don't want to store them near like heat or cold, so don't have them like near your radiator. Don't put them in your fridge. Don't keep them in your car because the inside of the car can like get extremely cold or extremely hot. And you also want to avoid places that have high humidity. So you don't want to store condoms in the bathroom because if someone has been taking like repeated hot showers, then the humidity can also degrade or damage the condom. So basically, like the safest place to store them is in your bedroom in a drawer, like in a dresser drawer or night table kind of thing.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Glad to hear I've been doing that right.
And yes. And as for, I'm glad that you mentioned like the wallet, purse. So it's fine. Like if you're going to go out, for, some evening, it's fine to like slide one in your wallet or your purse or your pocket, like your pants pocket or jacket pocket. It's fine for a night or two, but you don't want to always have a condom in your wallet or pocket because over time then it, could get smushed and also damaged. But for, like a night or two for the weekend, it's totally fine to have it on you like that.
Yeah. Reminds me I should probably take the couple that I have in my bag out then. Because I think about like, oh, they're just in there. It's fine.
Right.
And maybe not.
Right. Well, you can also buy condom cases.
That's true.
That like a clamshell kind of case where that will fit like, a couple of condoms. And then you could have it in your purse like, until it expires. As long as your purse isn't hanging like, over your radiator.
Which in New York, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. Or your heat comes out of like all kinds of like weird pipes and places in your apartment. So, but yes, so a condom case could be like a great solution if you just always like to kind of have them on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So I have like maybe a 2-part question. So I think one of the main things that I have heard / my own personal experience, but also with my students is, the common reason why people don't want to wear a condom is that it's not as sensitive. How can we improve that sensitivity? How can we have that conversation around, being able to continue to wear it, even if one person feels like it isn't as sensitive? Yeah. This is a very common concern for a lot of students. And this again is like, it really varies by person. So some people with penises, they don't really feel any difference between, having sex with a condom and having sex without one. It just, it feels great for them no matter what. Yeah. So fantastic. For other folks, they do feel like a very marked difference between, in sensation between, using one and not using one. So what can those folks do? So I usually suggest a couple of things. One is I suggest that they try using extra thin or extra sensitive condoms. So those condoms are just a little bit thinner than like your typical condom, but not so thin to the point that will make them more likely to break. They're just a little bit thinner, but for some people like that extra thinness it makes a big difference. Like they can really tell. Yeah. So I definitely recommend using those kinds of condoms. And then the other tried and true tip is before putting a condom onto the penis is to put a few drops of lube to the head of the penis, just to the head, and it can be water-based or silicone-based. Okay. Not lube, not oil. Just put a few drops on the tip and then put the condom on, and that extra lubrication is gonna really make a huge difference in someone's sensation and their pleasure. It's gonna feel a lot better because the head of the penis is very sensitive skin, and so having some lubricant on it is gonna really enhance pleasure. So like in a combination of adding lube
to the tip of the penis and using like an extra thin condom is going to feel much better than just like, whatever someone was doing before.
Yeah.
So those are my tips for increasing pleasure with the condom.
Yeah. And how do you encourage your students to have that conversation? Like whether they are someone who has a penis or who doesn't have a penis, like that condom negotiation can be really challenging when that, that component comes up.
Yeah.
Because I'll use myself because I tend to do that. I don't have a penis. And so if I try to have that conversation, well, can you try this? Have you tried this? Like, I get that, like, that's what you want, but like, I want you to wear a condom. Right. And so there's this push-pull, like, this is my boundary. This is my boundary.
Right.
So I'm just curious if you have any advice or tips on that.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of this actually comes from students. Students share with me like things that they say. And I'll talk more particularly now about like students with vaginas who are having sex with, like people with vaginas who are having sex with people with penises. Just to start, with that scenario. So in no particular order, if a person with a vagina is not on birth control, they will say to their partner, hey, I'm not on birth control and I don't want to get pregnant. And I'm pretty sure you don't want me to get pregnant. So please, like, let's use this. Yeah. And so other folks will take it. So we'll say to like, hopefully, most penis havers will agree and say, yeah, I don't want you to get pregnant, and will, be pretty amenable to wearing the condom. But if someone is getting pushback, if someone is giving pushback, that, there are students out there who will kind of like give an ultimatum and say, either we're having sex with a condom or we're not having sex at all.
That is my...
That's your
That's
go-to.
what I say, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing like what the kinds of responses that you get, but I tell students the vast majority of penis havers are going to pick sex with a condom over no sex at all. Yeah. And like in the worst case scenario, if someone says, well, then no, like I don't want to have sex, or, I don't want to wear the condom, so I guess we're not having sex. Well, then that person just self-selected themselves to walk on out of your life. Yeah. If your health concerns and safety, was not a priority for them. So that's probably might be the kind of person who you didn't want to be having sex with in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. I think, just to follow up on my own example, I will have the conversation before I ever get there. I will say in advance, I'm someone who always is going to ask for a condom. A condom is a deal breaker. It's either, wear one or nothing at all. Right. And so again, sometimes I have to reinforce that once I'm there, but it sort of clears up the conversation when I'm there. Yeah. That, okay, once we're here, hey, where's that condom? I have one if you don't.
Yeah.
So just making sure I come prepared as well.
Right.
But I think sometimes it can be challenging as like you're moving through like situationships, relationships. Oh, well, like we've been having sex for this long. I'll pull out and yada, yada. You get some of this pushback that's like, oh, but it'll feel so much better for you and for me. And so it can be really frustrating at times for the condom negotiation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great that you're prepared with your condom. You can, maybe practice a little more with the internal one, and then you can be like, I've already got it taken care of, so you don't even have to do anything.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that it's great that we have such wonderful resources at NYU. One of the things I think that is really empowering is that we have those condoms for free, both internal and external. So that barrier of having to stop and get condoms or trying to find an external condom someplace is quite challenging. So to be able to like go to various different places on campus and be able to get them for free is amazing.
Yes, definitely. We do our best to, remove as many barriers as possible for students to have, safer and more pleasurable sex. So in Manhattan, they can be found at the Student Health Center at 726 Broadway, 3rd and 4th floor lobbies. And there's a variety. We have a variety of external condoms. We have the internal condoms. We have dental dams and lube. So they're also in Kimmel. So they're at the LGBTQ+ Center on the 6th floor. They're at the Center for Student Life on the 7th floor and at the Center for Multicultural Education and Programs on the 8th floor. They are also in every single residence hall at the residence hall resource centers.
That's great. We have like 28 or so.
I don't even know how many now.
It's a number.
Yes.
It's a huge number of like resident halls. So that's great.
Yeah, and they generally get their condoms from the student health centers. Yeah. So they're pretty well stocked and well utilized. And then in Brooklyn, students can get free safer sex supplies at Tandon, either at the Office of Student Life and Services or at the Student Health Center at Tandon. I'm sure there are others. I'm not sure if you're aware of other places. I feel certain that there are others. But I think they're just maybe on a more rotating basis.
Yeah, I feel like I've encountered some like different programs will like carry them. Like certain schools will have them in certain places as well, but a little bit more informal.
Right.
So good to know where your school might have them if they have them, but also know that there are the others like more specific places that you can get them as well.
Yes, at the places that I listed, they will always have them.
Yeah,
definitely. Exactly. I wanted to actually just go back and talk a little bit more about what we were talking about in terms of partner negotiation and in wearing a condom. So I know I started with the example of if a vagina or a uterus haver is not on birth control, it's a pretty tough argument to try to shoot down to say like I'm not on birth control and I don't want to get pregnant. So it's pretty foolproof reason. But there are some vagina or uterus havers who are on birth control, but they still want to use a condom anyway, because again, birth control, which I believe was referenced or spoken about more fully in episode 22.
Yep, in season 1.
So birth control, as we know, only prevents against pregnancy, but it offers no protection against sexually transmitted infections or HIV. So if someone is on birth control, but they still want to use a condom anyway, whether it be for extra pregnancy prevention or obviously for STI HIV prevention, they can simply say, yes, I'm on birth control, but, I would just feel better if we used a condom. I would feel less stressed out. I would enjoy sex more if we use this, and again, that's like a pretty hard, reason to argue with, right? I mean, who wants to say like, actually, no, like I'd rather you be a little bit stressed out and not use a condom. I'd rather that you be worried about getting an STI and not use a condom. So when it's framed that way, and it doesn't even need to be about like, I think you might have an STI or I don't trust you. It doesn't need to be about that at all. It can just be just about simply, about someone's just well-being, not like for both people, not just the person who's requesting, for a condom to be used, but for both people. I mean, so ideally, in a perfect world, these conversations happen before, things are getting hot and heavy, so that things are like kind of like planned out and discussed, beforehand. But of course, that doesn't always happen. Right. So, in the moment, someone can say, this is also why I encourage regular STI testing. So that way, like if someone wants to ask their partner, this is a really common question I get is how do I ask my partner about their STI status? Like about like when is the last time they were tested or have they ever been tested? So I tell people that it's usually easier for them to ask this question once they themselves have been tested. So if you're planning on like having sex with someone soon, or maybe it's been 6 months or a year since your last STI testing, get yourself tested. And then that way, when you bring it up to someone else, you can start by saying, oh, by the way, I was just tested for STIs, a couple of weeks ago, and I tested negative for, let's say you did it at the health center. So you can say I tested negative for chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and HIV. How about you? And so that way, you're sharing your own status, you're letting your partner know about your own, personal health history. So it doesn't feel like, kind of lopsided or, or less
accusatory,
awkward, accusatory, or, however someone, because some folks like, might like feel awkward or might feel bad, like as if implying like they mean like they don't trust their partner, but it's not about that at all. It's just simply about safety. I know we've talked before that, the most common symptom of an STI is no symptom at all. This happens all the time at the health center. Students test positive for an STI, but they were completely symptom-free. They tested positive because they were coming in for just like their routine testing, their regular testing. Yeah. So because of that, especially if someone doesn't like want to like have a conversation with their partner, like, when was your last STI testing, or what did you do? What did you test for, or how many people have you had sex with since then? I mean, those are great questions to ask, but I get that not everyone wants to do that. And so that's when someone can say, you know what, like I'll feel better. I'll feel more relaxed. I'll feel less worried, less stressed. I'll have more fun. I'll enjoy this more if we use this. Yeah. And ideally their partner would say, yes, that matters to me. So absolutely. Yeah. And if they don't, well, then again, maybe that wasn't someone who was like a good fit for you sexually.
Yeah, I feel like that's also, and maybe you have some more advice on this, but a good response if, it's, penile to anal contact as well. Like if you have someone who might also be on PrEP. It's not like, yes, it protects you against, HIV, but there are these other things as well.
Exactly.
So it's going to like help me feel, less anxious about getting anything else. Yeah. And so I feel like that's a good response for that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll feel less, inhibited. I'll feel like, this will be more fun, if we use a condom, and, who can argue with that? Yeah. So it can go for, I know I kind of used the example of like vagina havers with birth control, but it can be used, that reasoning can be used by, people of any gender, of whatever genitals they have.
And whatever ones they're using in the moment.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
I think those are like the most common, responses. And I usually tell folks that, for like I said, some students, they have already been saying this, like, for a long time. So it kind of rolls off their mouth, rolls off their tongue real easily. And that's great. And for folks who have like never had that kind of conversation before with a partner, or who are just starting to have sex and, feeling kind of a little overwhelmed or maybe a little anxious about everything, the more you practice saying these kinds of things, the easier and less awkward it gets. I mean, yes, the very first time you have this kind of conversation might be a little awkward, but it will get easier with time and practice and experience. So
yeah. And your boundaries are worth it.
Yes.
Like if you're not comfortable with something that's happening, have that conversation if you can, if it feels safe. I feel like sometimes those boundaries are being pushed, and, it's like, oh, well, your pleasure is important to me, but doesn't supersede my pleasure.
Right.
So making sure that like we're having the conversation, what's some kind of negotiation we can have here? We both want to experience pleasure, but I need to have the condom in order for me to feel safe and to feel protected. So I'm not worried. How can we like navigate this together?
Right. So, exactly. And I always tell students, like what's the worst thing that could happen? If you ask someone to wear a condom, I guess the worst thing that could happen is they say no, or they leave. Right. Yeah. And so, I tell students, if that happens, again, like it's probably better for you, in the long run, as, and furthermore, like you will find someone who will want to have sex with you with a condom. Yeah. That person is out there. Yes. But trust me, there are plenty of people who will be perfectly happy to have sex with a condom. Maybe it wasn't that particular person who you were with in that moment, but there will be many others who will not have a problem with that. So don't worry.
Amen.
It will happen.
It will. Yeah, definitely. Anything else that you want to share with folks?
I think that's about it. I mean, I just wanted to list a couple of really good websites if people wanted to read more about, about this information. So I recommend plannedparenthood.org and bedsider.org, and maybe we can add those.
Yeah, we'll add those to the list in our show notes.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you came here and sort of talked about this. I definitely learned some things, so I'm really excited about that. I want to just say that you're a great resource for our NYU students, so they can reach out to you through our Sexpert at NYU.edu, or schedule an appointment through the Student Health Center portal.
Yes.
So I encourage folks to utilize you, because you're a great resource that I wish more and more people would take advantage of. So thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, Danielle. It was great to be here.
Thank you.
If you have questions about the podcast or anything we talked about today, please feel free to reach out to us at goodsex.podcast@nyu.edu. This email address is monitored during business hours and may take 3 to 4 days for follow-up. We are definitely open to critical and thoughtful feedback, as we didn't cover everything in this episode and might have said something that was inaccurate or that had a negative impact on someone. If you have questions about your sexual health and are an NYU student, you can connect with our Student Health Center sex expert at sexpert@nyu.edu or schedule an appointment through the Student Health Center portal. Look at our show notes for additional information and resources, including organizations, articles, books, and videos.
If you have urgent mental health concerns, safety issues, or you are worried that someone might have caused harm to you, or that you might have caused harm to someone, then you can contact NYU's Confidential Wellness Exchange at 212-443-9999. Chat with them using their mobile app or email them at wellness.exchange@nyu.edu. For anyone, NYU or non-NYU listeners, you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673, the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233, or the National Mental Health Hotline. Simply dial 988 from anywhere in the U.S.
Thanks for listening, and tune in to our next episode where we continue to talk about good sex at NYU. Subscribe to the podcast to hear all of our quickies and interviews with NYU community members. Thanks to our content contributors for this episode, Bernadette Kerr, Alyssa LaFosse, Dr. Dominic Baini-Amisa, Zoe Raguzios, and to our health promotion team, Anna Genova, Jenny Mellum, Parade Stone, and Arna Dixit, and to Gotham Studios and Karen Ortman.